He was 20 years old when he became king, 32 when he died. In those 12 years, Alexander of Macedon conquered more territory than any human before him. From the rocky hills of Greece to the burning deserts of Egypt, from the ancient walls of Persia to the mysterious edges of India, his name became legend. We call him Alexander the Great. We say he conquered the world. But here's what they don't tell you. He didn't do it alone. And the men who actually won his empire have been forgotten by history. Stand in the ruins of Persepolis today, where the greatest palace in the ancient world once touched the sky, and you'll find nothing but broken columns and scorched stone. Walk through the mountain passes of Afghanistan, where armies clashed in snowstorms. Sail down the Indus River, where soldiers wept and begged to go home. Everywhere Alexander went, there were men, thousands of them. Macedonian farmers turned into warriors, Greek mercenaries fighting for coin, Persian cavalry who switched sides, engineers who built bridges across rivers that had never been crossed, doctors who saved lives in the middle of nowhere, scribes who recorded what happened so we would remember. These weren't just followers. They were the reason it worked. They were the ones who bled, who carried the weight, who turned one man's ambition into an empire that changed the world forever. But we don't know their names. We don't see their faces. History gave all the glory to one man and left the rest in silence. So let's bring them back. Let's walk with them through dust and blood and victory and see what it really took to conquer the known world. Because Alexander the Great wasn't supposed to win. The odds were impossible. The enemies were stronger. The distances were unthinkable. But he had something the world had never seen before, an army that refused to break. When Alexander's father, King Philip, was murdered in 336 BC, nobody thought the boy would last. He was too young, too untested, too passionate. The Greek city-states saw their chance and rebelled immediately. Thebes, one of the greatest military powers in Greece, rose up thinking they could crush this child king before he even began. They were wrong. Alexander moved faster than anyone expected. He marched his army south with a fury that shocked the ancient world. When he reached Thebes, he didn't negotiate. He destroyed it, completely. 6,000 dead, 30,000 sold into slavery. The city razed to the ground except for the temples and the house of the poet Pindar, because even in rage, Alexander loved Greek culture. It was a message written in blood and ash. This boy wasn't his father. He was something else, something more dangerous. But who carried out that destruction? Who scaled the walls? Who fought through the streets? The Macedonian phalanx, the core of Alexander's power. Farmers and shepherds from the hills of northern Greece, transformed by Philip's military genius into the most disciplined infantry force the world had ever seen. They fought in formation, shoulder to shoulder, 16 rows deep, each man holding a sarissa, a pike 18 feet long. When they marched forward, they became a moving forest of bronze and iron, unstoppable, terrifying. These weren't professional soldiers born into military families. They were common men who trained until they moved as one body, thought as one mind, trusted each other with their lives because they had to. Without that trust, the phalanx shattered. With it, they were invincible. And beside them, the companion cavalry, the elite, sons of Macedonian nobility who had grown up riding and fighting alongside Alexander since childhood. They were his brothers, his friends, his inner circle. They charged into battle like thunder, heavy cavalry armed with lances, crashing into enemy lines at full speed, breaking formations, creating chaos. Alexander always rode with them, always at the front, leading the charge himself, risking his life again and again because he knew that's what they needed to see. A king who wouldn't ask them to do anything he wouldn't do first. They loved him for it. They followed him into hell for it. With Greece secured, Alexander turned east, toward Persia, the greatest empire on earth, ruled by Darius III, who commanded armies so vast they stretched beyond the horizon, treasuries so rich they could buy kingdoms, cities so ancient they made Greece look young. Everyone told Alexander to wait, to consolidate, to build alliances. He ignored them all. In 334 BC, he crossed the Hellespont into Asia with 35,000 men. Persia could field 1 million. The mathematics didn't favor him, But mathematics never accounted for will. The first test came at the Granicus River. Persian forces waited on the far bank, confident, prepared. Crossing a river under enemy fire is military suicide. The current is strong. The men are vulnerable. The enemy has every advantage. Alexander's generals advised against it. Wait for better ground, they said. Find another way. Alexander looked at the river, looked at his men, and ordered the charge. He led it himself, plunging into the water on his horse, the companions following, the phalanx wading through current and chaos. Persian arrows fell like rain. Men screamed and died in the water. But they didn't stop. They reached the far bank and fought upward, clawing their way onto solid ground. And once the phalanx formed, once those 18-foot pikes came down, the Persian line broke. The impossible crossing succeeded because the men believed it would, because Alexander made them believe. But victory at the Granicus was just the beginning. Deeper into Persia they marched, through cities that opened their gates in fear or defiance. And always the engineers worked, building siege equipment, constructing bridges, creating supply lines across distances that had never been logistically attempted. These men don't get statues. They don't get songs. But without them, the army starves. Without them, the rivers can't be crossed. Without them, the fortified cities never fall. They were blacksmiths and carpenters and rope makers, turning raw materials into weapons and tools, solving problems in real time under pressure, keeping the war machine moving forward when everything tried to stop it. At Issus, Alexander faced Darius himself. The Persian king brought everything: chariots with scythes on the wheels designed to tear through infantry, cavalry from every corner of the empire, Greek mercenaries fighting for Persian gold, men who knew exactly how Macedonians fought. The armies met in a narrow coastal plain where numbers mattered less, where skill and courage mattered more. Darius positioned himself in the center, surrounded by his best troops, the Immortals, warriors whose name meant they could never be depleted, because when one fell, another instantly took his place. Alexander saw where Darius stood and made his choice. He would break through. Personally, he led the companion cavalry in a wedge formation, driving straight toward the Persian center like a spear thrown at a shield. The violence was unimaginable. Men and horses colliding at full speed, weapons shattering, blood turning the ground into mud. Alexander fought in the front, always in the front, taking wounds, killing enemies, visible to everyone, unmistakable in his armor and white-plumed helmet. And the companions followed. They always followed. They smashed through the Persian lines closer and closer to Darius. And when the Persian king saw death coming for him, saw Alexander cutting through his guards like they were nothing, he broke. He ran. The king of the greatest empire on earth turned his chariot and fled the battlefield. His army saw it and panic spread like fire. The formations dissolved. The retreat became a rout. Persia lost not because they were weaker, but because their king abandoned them. Alexander's men didn't abandon each other. That was the difference. When a Macedonian fell, the man beside him kept fighting. When the phalanx wavered, the row behind steadied it. When supplies ran low, they shared what they had. When the distances grew unbearable, they marched anyway. This wasn't just discipline. It was something deeper. It was belief. Belief in each other, belief in their king, belief that they were part of something that would echo through all of time. Egypt welcomed him as a liberator. The Persian governors there had been harsh, and when Alexander arrived, the Egyptians crowned him pharaoh, declared him son of the god Amun, built temples in his honor. He founded Alexandria, the city that would become the greatest center of learning in the ancient world. But he didn't stay. He couldn't. Darius was still out there, rebuilding, preparing for one final confrontation. And so the army marched again, deeper into the heart of Persia, toward the place where empires go to be decided, Gaugamela, the open plains of northern Mesopotamia. Darius assembled everything he had left: chariots, elephants, cavalry, infantry from every province. A massive force on flat ground where they could maneuver, where their numbers would crush the Macedonians through sheer weight. Darius chose the battlefield carefully. He even had it leveled, cleared of obstacles, perfect terrain for his chariots to charge. And when the armies faced each other, The size difference was staggering. Alexander had 40,000 men. Darius had perhaps 250,000. This was the moment. If Alexander lost here, the dream died. His men knew it. They stood in formation and watched the Persian army spread across the horizon like an ocean, and they didn't run. They tightened their grips on their weapons and waited for the order. Alexander gave them something better than an order. He gave them a plan. He saw that Darius had stretched his line to prevent being flanked, and in stretching it, he'd made it thin. Alexander would draw the Persians out of position, create a gap, and drive through it with everything he had. The phalanx held the center, enduring the chariot charge, the cavalry assaults, holding formation while the companions maneuvered. And when the gap appeared, Alexander charged. Again, always toward the enemy king, always at the point of greatest danger. The companions followed him into the center of the Persian army, cutting, pushing, breaking through toward Darius. And for the second time, Darius fled, left his men to die while he ran for his life. The Persian Empire shattered that day, not because of one man, because of 40,000 who refused to break, who stood their ground when outnumbered 6-1, who believed that discipline and courage could overcome impossible odds. And they were right, but the conquering didn't end. Alexander pushed east into lands the Greeks barely knew existed. Bactria, Sogdiana, territories where the people fought from horseback, where the mountains were higher than any Greek had climbed, where the winters froze men solid. And still the army followed. They married local women. They adopted local customs. They built cities in the middle of nowhere and garrisoned them with Macedonians who would never see home again. These men became the seeds of Greek culture spreading across Asia. Their children would speak Greek and worship Greek gods and remember stories of Macedon, even though they'd never been there. When they reached India, when they crossed the Indus River and faced King Porus and his war elephants, creatures the Macedonians had never fought before, creatures that terrified horses and could crush men under their feet, they still fought, still won. But something broke there. The monsoon rains fell endlessly. The jungle was suffocating. Diseases killed more men than battles. And when Alexander said they would keep going, would march to the edge of the world and beyond, the army finally said no. Not in rebellion, in exhaustion. They had followed him for 11 years, fought in dozens of battles, marched 10,000 miles, lost countless brothers, and they were done. They wanted to go home. They wanted to see their families. They had given him the world. It had to be enough. Alexander wept when they refused to march further, but he turned back, because even he understood. Without them, he was nothing, just a man with a dream. They had made the dream real. They had carried it on their backs and in their blood across continents. Every victory was theirs as much as his. Every mile, every battle, every impossible moment when they should have broken but didn't. That was them. The Macedonian phalanx that never shattered, the companion cavalry that charged into death beside their king, the engineers who built the bridges, the doctors who saved the wounded, the thousands whose names we don't know, but whose courage changed history. Alexander died in Babylon at 32, probably from fever, possibly from poison. His empire fractured immediately. His generals tore it apart fighting over the pieces. But what he had built, what they had built together, didn't disappear. Greek culture spread across 3 continents. Cities they founded still exist. The fusion of Greek and Eastern civilization created the Hellenistic world that would shape philosophy, science, art, and thought for centuries. All of it because a young king had an impossible dream and an army that refused to let it die. History remembers Alexander. It should also remember them, the men who marched through deserts and over mountains, who stood in formation when outnumbered, who built bridges over uncrossable rivers, who charged into armies 10 times their size because their king charged first. They weren't supposed to win, but they did, together, and the world was never the same.